Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're diving straight into the incredible mystery of animal instincts and earthquake prediction. Picture this for a second. You're looking out at a landscape in the moments right before a catastrophic natural disaster. The air is completely still, the ground is quiet, our most advanced human instruments are picking up absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. But then you look at the animal kingdom. Suddenly, a totally inexplicable panic takes hold of them. It's like a silent alarm has been tripped, warning them of impending doom, while we are just sitting there completely blind. So how on earth is this possible? What exactly are they sensing that we aren't? Let's ground this in reality by looking at a very sobering recent event, the 2023 Kahramanmaraş earthquake. In those quiet hours right before the devastation actually struck, people were just going about their normal routines. Humanity noticed absolutely nothing. I mean, there was no physical shaking yet, zero rumbling that our bodies could detect, but the animals? They were incredibly restless. The source material for today's explainer highlights this really chilling reality. While we were caught completely off guard, the animals already knew. They felt something we couldn't. And this isn't just some one-off crazy anecdote. It's a verified pattern that has fascinated and, honestly, frustrated observers for centuries. For the longest time, right, this whole idea of animals predicting earthquakes is basically brushed off as a myth. But then Professor Martin Wilkelsky, he's a director at the Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior, told the Washington Post something pretty definitive. He stated that there is strong evidence animals feel non-seismic precursors to earthquakes. Now, what does that actually mean? It means they aren't just feeling the tiny early tremors right before a big quake hits. They are detecting signals that have absolutely nothing to do with the physical shaking of the ground. It's like they're tuned in to a completely different frequency altogether. And Professor Wilkelsky and his colleagues, they didn't just sit around and hypothesize about this. They actually went out into the field to test it. They set up this fascinating experiment on a farm in a known earthquake zone in northern Italy. The methodology was beautifully straightforward. Step 1. Attach biological sensors to regular farm animals. We're talking cows, sheep, dogs, the whole shebang. Step 2. Continuously record their movements every single day for a period of several months. And Step 3. Take all that behavioral data and cross-reference it with actual seismic events to see if there was a real correlation. The results of that investigation were absolutely mind-blowing. When the researchers crunched the numbers, they found that the animals didn't just react when the ground started moving. Instead, they became unusually restless hours before the earthquakes actually hit. Let that sink in for a second. Hours. Way before our multi-million-dollar human instruments even registered a threat, these farm animals were already pacing, agitated, and showing clear signs of distress. This wasn't just some random coincidence. It was a measurable, physiological response to a totally unseen trigger. And it gets even more fascinating because the data revealed this astonishing distance-based correlation that really highlights just how precise their natural instincts are. Basically, the closer the animals were to the actual epicenter of the impending earthquake, the earlier their behavioral changes began. If they were right on top of where the quake was going to originate, their restlessness started much sooner than animals further away. This effectively proves they were picking up a signal emanating directly from the fault line itself, a signal that faded with distance, kind of like a ripple in a pond. So, the real kicker here is understanding how this all comes together, which brings us to another huge insight from Professor Wilkelsky. He notes that these animals show abilities that aren't easily understood just by looking at a single individual. Think about it. If you just watch one cow acting weirdly, it's pretty easy to dismiss. Maybe it's just having a bad day, right? But when you connect the data from the entire flock or herd, something incredible emerges. Together, they essentially act as a highly advanced, living, breathing earthquake prediction system. The collective network of their senses is just massively more powerful than the sum of its individual parts. Now, looking at this data forces a pretty stark realization about our own capabilities, highlighted here by French ecologist Dr. Charlotte Franciaz. She points out a very humbling truth. Despite all the incredible cutting-edge technology we have available to us today, we still cannot accurately predict most natural disasters. Sure, we can track storms and we can monitor fault lines 24/7, but predicting the exact moment an earthquake will strike, that remains entirely elusive to human science. In a lot of ways, we are literally still in the dark. It is the ultimate David versus Goliath scenario, except in this case, Goliath is losing badly. On one side, we have us, humanity. We've poured billions of dollars into research, built massive supercomputers, and deployed thousands of sophisticated sensors all over the globe. And what does all that get us? The most advanced early warning systems on Earth can give us, at best, mere seconds of warning before the shaking starts. On the other side, we have basic farm animals. Cows, sheep, dogs. Zero technology, zero funding. Yet they sense the danger hours and sometimes even days in advance. So you have to wonder, what exactly are these animals feeling? If they aren't feeling the physical shaking, what is tripping that internal alarm? The source text outlines a few of the leading scientific hypotheses here. Are they detecting massive underground pressure changes as tectonic plates grind together deep in the Earth? Are they super sensitive to subtle fluctuations in the Earth's electromagnetic field that occur right before a rupture? Or maybe they're actually smelling sudden tiny gas emissions released from microfractures in the rocks. Well, the honest truth? Scientists don't fully know. We have theories, sure, we have hypotheses, and we have absolute mountains of data. But the exact mechanism, that specific biological sensor that allows a sheep to literally predict a seismic catastrophe, remains a total mystery to human intellect. But the animals, they know. They don't need a PhD in plate tectonics to understand what's happening. Their bodies simply instinctively react to the reality of their environment. Just think about the sheer irony of this. We have spent billions of dollars and centuries of relentless, grueling effort trying to master the Earth, trying to predict its sudden, violent movements. We've built massive towers, laid miles of deep-sea cables, and launched satellites into orbit. And yet, despite all our intellect and all that capital, we find ourselves fundamentally outsmarted by the raw, unadulterated instinct of a restless farm animal. It really forces us to pause and just look at nature with a completely renewed sense of awe. When you're staring at this massive gap between human technological failure and animal instinctual success, you really have to ask yourself, is this restlessness just a mere coincidence? Is it really just some random evolutionary fluke that these creatures happen to get agitated right before the ground splits open? The source material actually invites us here to look past the raw data for a moment and step into a much deeper, more philosophical reflection. It prompts us to consider, is there a more profound design at play here? It asks whether every living creature was perhaps intentionally equipped with a built-in sense, designed specifically to protect its own life. When we see just how perfectly tuned these animals are to their environment and how this incredibly specific sense aids in their survival when literally all else fails, the material opens the door to some truly fascinating discussions about natural design and purpose. The source text actually concludes its exploration of this phenomenon by framing it through a spiritual lens. It quotes a verse from the Quran, Surah Hud, Ayah 6, which reads, "There is no moving creature on earth whose provision is not guaranteed by Allah, and He knows where it lives and where it is laid to rest." The analysis presented in our source material imparts the view that these intricate, life-saving abilities aren't just random accidents. Instead, they are viewed as evidence of a comprehensive, watchful presence that oversees the placement and ultimately the fate of every single living thing. Ultimately, the source material leaves us with this final, powerful perspective. These animals, who seem so vulnerable to us, are not left defenseless. It suggests they were gifted a precise, deeply ingrained sense to escape danger, a sense that completely outpaces our very best technological achievements. And it leaves us with this incredible question to reflect on. As we continue to build our supercomputers and wire up our sensors, what other quiet, miraculous alarms are ringing right now in the natural world, just waiting for us to finally pay attention?